Hello there. If you watched my last video on intuition that I did just before I popped on here, then you know that at the end of that video, I opened up to my own intuition. And so I am in a very open, positive emotional state. And that is a good thing because this video is going to be about shame. We need to talk about shame because shame is such a powerful negative emotion that most, if not all of us carry in some form. There are versions of shame. We all have or had some version of shame, depending on how spiritually evolved you are and how much cleanup work you've been doing. We all have our brand of shame. And so we got to talk about that because it just carries a lot of emotional energy. And as we do this cleanup work, dealing with our own shame is going to be a big part of it. Now, Brené Brown, I'm sure many of you know who Brené Brown is. She's a fantastic sociologist. I think she's a sociologist, researcher. She's, got a big empire now, but she started with a TED Talk talking about shame. So she's done a lot of work on shame. I'm going to talk about my experience with shame over the last 20 years as I've done this work, the spiritual work, the emotional work. And I've done a little bit of research on my own as part of my coaching and my keynote speaking, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to presence and how you influence and how you walk through the world has to do with your belief systems. And I've been talking before in my previous videos about the connection between your belief systems and your emotions. And because beliefs have a cognitive component, have an emotional component, your belief system is a large source of your emotional pain, depending on what your belief system is. And so if you have beliefs that are shameful, then you're probably going to have a lot of negative emotional energy attached to those beliefs. So what is shame? I'm sure many of you have heard this distinction between guilt and shame. Guilt is when you feel bad about something you did. Shame is when you feel bad about yourself. There's something wrong with me. Guilt is a good thing. I felt guilty about things that I've done in my life. Man, I wish I'd done that differently. I wish I didn't do that. You need to apologize because you feel guilty or remorseful about something. That's a good thing. That means you have a conscience. That means you are connected to your morals and to your spiritual North Star, to your integrity. It's good to know that when you step outside your integrity, that your conscience goes off like a siren and says, we're out of bounds. We need to go back in. So that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with guilt, nothing wrong with remorse, nothing wrong with regret as a way of showing you when you are stepping out of integrity. Awesome. What's not okay? What tends to be self-sabotaging, what tends to hold you back, what tends to be destructive, what tends to be corrosive is the belief that you are flawed, fundamentally flawed. There is something broken inside you, about you. There is something wrong with me. I felt that. And my shame was so buried that it was hard for me to get in touch with it at first. And I think another reason why it was hard for me to get in touch with it was I don't have the kind of shame where it's like, oh, I'm just the self-worth, the low self-esteem, for whatever reason, I just came into this world with confidence. I think it's from my dad. So I came into this world with a level of confidence that protected me from that brand of shame. That's like, something wrong with me. I feel shame around things that happened in my life. right? Things that I experienced, the fact that I lived in poverty when I was a child, that I slept on the couch until I was 11 years old, I think, or maybe even older than that. The fact that my mother had a mental illness and we didn't have a car. And like, there were just a lot of things happening in my childhood that I was ashamed of. My mother had a nervous breakdown when I was in high school and I didn't tell anybody. And, we didn't have a car. So we would have to, basically like take our laundry and put it in this cart that looked like a homeless cart and take it to the laundromat. Like, I had things I felt ashamed about in my life. And because this was my life, this was my home life, this was my family, this was my mother, this was my father. Like, there were things I felt ashamed of. And so vicariously, I felt ashamed of myself. So that was my brand of shame. But it still comes down to there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. Even for my brand of shame, if I tell people how I'm living, if I tell people what I've experienced, they're going to think I'm weird. They're going to think I'm not cool. They're going to think they're not going to want to know me. I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to be loved. And that's the really corrosive part of shame. When you believe there's something wrong with you, when you believe you are flawed, when you believe you are broken, it's like a if-then statement. If there's something wrong with me, then I can't be loved. If there's something flawed, fundamentally flawed with me, then I'll never be accepted. I'll never be successful. I can never be myself. I have to hide my authentic self because no one will understand. No one will accept me. You see how because of shame, you isolate yourself. You can be in a room full of people and still be isolated, right? You can be living with your partner, with your children, and still feel like I am all alone in this world. That's what shame does. That's what shame does. So, I know when I first started to get in touch with this idea of shame, again, partnering with my intuition, it was so important for me to get to that understanding of, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with me. It happened almost in a moment. I think I was meditating on something. I was meditating on some experiences in my childhood and meditating on, some experiences that I felt very ashamed of that had happened to me. And it was like this idea dropped into my head of, wait, there's nothing wrong with me. I experienced that. But that doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Wait, there's nothing wrong with me. Wait a minute. So there's never been anything wrong with me? Like, it was just such a unwind, right? Wait, there's nothing wrong. Wait, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. There's never been anything wrong with me. There's never been anything wrong with me. It still makes me emotional when I connect with that feeling of release of shame. There's nothing wrong with you. There's never been anything wrong with you. You are not flawed. You are not broken. The experiences that you've had in your life don't make you bad, don't make you wrong, don't make you unacceptable, don't make you unable to create success in your life, to create love in your life. They don't make you lesser than. On the contrary, they make you human. They make you beautiful. They make you unique. So this feeling of shame, and what I'm doing right now is showing you how to work with emotions. How you start to shift the emotional energy by shifting your beliefs. And it can be as easy as that, like, momentary awareness that I had. But I had been doing some work to get to that point, right? But then when it happens in an instant where you're like, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with me. I can release that. There's never been anything wrong with me. Wow. It really does feel like a liberation. And you really do have to start to kind of unwind and let that percolate through your consciousness, your subconscious, and your unconscious. Because shame is it's like one of the core wounds that we all carry around. It's like the root of a tree, and there are other branches that come out of that root. So when you start to really work with shame, it can then have, a ripple effect, because it connects to other beliefs that you might have, not just about yourself, but your place in the world, what you're able to accomplish, like all kinds of other things that start to get reconciled, that start to come into balance and come into harmony and get healed. That's what healing is all about. So let me share with you some ways that you can find what are your shame beliefs. There is a psychiatrist, I forget what his name is. The name escapes me. I'll put it in the description. But he is a psychiatrist that does work with folks who have social anxiety disorder, which is a chronic form of shyness. It's debilitating. You're so incredibly shy and anxious about social interactions that you avoid them at all costs. And what he found was that people with social anxiety disorder, or SAD, the beliefs that they have about themselves tend to fall into 4 categories. Again, this was for folks with social anxiety disorder, right? But I found that these beliefs are pretty universal. We all have some version of these beliefs. And so I'm going to share these 4 categories of beliefs to help you figure out where might your shame beliefs be hiding in your subconscious. So the first category, and I call these "there's something wrong with me" beliefs. That's not what he called them, but that's what I call them, because they're shame beliefs. There's something wrong with the way I look. There's something wrong with my physical appearance. I don't like my skin. I don't like my nose. I don't like my hair. I don't like my eyes. I don't like my weight. I don't like my height. I don't like my skin color. I don't like my teeth. I don't like my clothes. There's something wrong. Right? We pick ourselves apart. We get bullied on the playground. You have a big nose. You have zits, whatever that is. And we can start to create shame beliefs around the way we look. So that's the first category. The second category is there's something wrong with my personality. I'm not cool enough. I'm not funny enough. People think I'm weird. I'm not intelligent. Whatever that is, your personality. I don't have the right traits. I don't have the right personality. I'm extroverted. I'm introverted. I'm whatever, right? There's something wrong with that. And again, we pick up these beliefs on the playground, or in our families, or society, or all kinds of different places. When we start romantic relationships and people start giving you, well, I don't like you because of this, or they start picking up, and we start to internalize these beliefs. There's something wrong with my personality. So that's the second one. There's something wrong with my social skills, my ability to form connection with people. I don't know what to say. I always say something stupid. Whatever that is for you. My social skills. I hear this a lot actually with Again, I work with successful people. The level of social anxiety when they have to go do networking functions and things like that, it's just like, how do I start a conversation with people? Like, this is a thing. This is a thing, right? We feel like other people know how to connect and socialize, and I don't. I'm the weird, outsider, outcast that just doesn't know how to form social relationships. I know I have felt that way sometimes, a lot of times. Even though my reality doesn't show that to me, I still have insecurities about my ability to connect with people. I'm too woo-woo. I'm too out there. I'm too spiritual for people. I don't know if people are going to get the frequency I'm on. I don't know if they're going to get my wavelength. I felt that. Social skills, I think, also can go with like your poverty or your class system, socioeconomic levels. I come from the wrong side of the tracks. I didn't go to the right school, so I'm not going to connect with those people. That can come into play. I know I felt that. So that's the third category. There's something wrong with my social skills. I don't speak good. I don't have the right words. I don't have the right vocabulary, whatever that is for you. The last one is there's something wrong with how I show my nerves. I get nervous. I start to blush. I stutter. I stammer. My palms start sweating. I get sweaty, whatever that is, right? So these are the 4 categories that the psychiatrist came up with that were really the categories of fears that people with social anxiety disorder have. I found that we all have some version of these beliefs. Some version, some degree, some flavor. And it really depends on, is this just an insecurity that's manageable? I can still go out and do things. I still like myself, fundamentally like and love who I am, even though I don't like my nose. I don't like this, but it's okay. I still love myself. Or is this something that you feel is like, this is a thing that I can't get past. It makes me flawed. It makes me broken. It makes me irredeemable. It makes me unlovable. And your self-esteem just goes down the toilet. Shame. Shame. And it's not far from shame to self-hate, self-loathing. And you definitely don't want to go there. So, how do you work with this? Well, one way, invite your intuition, partner your intuition, use the activity that I gave you in the last video with the roses, create and destroy roses. And this time you can get even more specific. I'm going to program these roses that I'm visualizing. I'm going to program them to symbolize shame. Any shame beliefs, any shame energy that I am holding in my belief system, in my energy field, in my body. I'm going to create a rose and destroy it. I'm going to create a rose and destroy it. I want this to lift. I want this to release. I don't want to hold this in my system anymore. I don't want to hold this in my field anymore. I don't want to believe this about myself anymore. So come on, subconscious. Come on, intuition. Let's get this done. Right? So that's one way. The next way is to simply meditate on the fact that there is nothing wrong with you. Allow yourself to entertain that belief for however long you can. Just even for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to believe that there's nothing wrong with me. How does that feel? How does that feel? How does that change my self-concept? If I allow myself for the next 5 minutes to believe that there is nothing wrong with me and never has been, how does that shift my energy field? How does that shift my belief system? How does that shift my mental model of myself? My identity? You're going to notice a difference, even if it's just for 5 minutes. even if you can only hold it for 5 minutes a day, there's nothing wrong with me. And there never has been anything wrong with me. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that we don't work on. I've been on a 20-year journey, remember? And I'm still on it and will be on it until the day I die. Doesn't mean that we're not still refining, elevating, evolving, because we're human. That's what we're doing here, is learning, evolving. But there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing flawed fundamentally beyond redeemability. There's nothing about you that can't be healed, loved. And that brings us to the next thing that I would like you to practice, which is self-love. Self-love is the ultimate antidote to shame. You go from there's something wrong with me to I love myself, not just love myself, I love myself unconditionally. Unconditional self-love. I love myself unconditionally. All the parts of me, the nose, the skin, the hair, the weight, the personality, the social skills, I love it all. All of it. All the experiences that I'm ashamed of, I'm going to shift those energies and realize, you know what? Those experiences made me who I am today. There's gold in there if I'm willing to look for it. I love it all. Practicing radical self-love is the ultimate antidote, the ultimate balm for shame. What does self-love really feel like? Because that was something that I struggled with. You know, we talk about love yourself. There's different ways to love yourself. Remember, there's no rules, only principles. Different ways to love yourself. Different ways to express self-love. But I'm all about what's the energy of it? What's the feeling of it? And so there's an activity, there's an exercise that I want you to try so that you can really feel the energy, the frequency of unconditional self-love. First thing, I want you to think about or get a photograph of yourself. If your imagination faculty is not very well developed yet, then start with an actual physical photograph. Choose a photograph of you that you feel represents you, your essence, how you see yourself. It can be current, it can be past. When I was on my walk this morning and thinking about this exercise, there's a photograph of me, I think it's my junior or senior year in high school, that I feel like that's Michelle. That captures the essence of Michelle. It's so funny, I had a little mustache when I was like, yeah, that's Michelle. But that's the image that came to my mind when I was, doing this activity. So that's what I have in my inner vision. Okay. But any photograph, I want you to choose a photograph that represents you. Okay. So you have that photograph. So I want you to sit and close your eyes. And I want you to bring to mind someone or something that you love unconditionally. It can be your kids, it can be your spouse, it can be your parents. For me, it's my kitties, my cats. I love them so much. I can start crying. They are my babies. And as I bring their little faces to my inner vision, the love I feel for my kitties, it is pure, unconditional love for them. I love them so much. So fill yourself up with that feeling of unconditional self-love. You know how to do this. You know what unconditional love is. Fill yourself up with unconditional love, this feeling toward this person or being. I love my kitty so much. Now, switch to the photograph of you. and see if you can hold that frequency of unconditional love. Unconditional love for yourself. It's the same energy. We've just swapped out your picture for whoever you had. Can you hold it? Now, for me, as I did this exercise, it's like, okay, it's a little less potent, a little, weaker than the unconditional love I felt for my kitties. But because of the work I've been doing on myself around self-love, it's pretty close. I can hold that frequency of unconditional love even when I swap out my photograph of me in junior year of high school with my little mustache in my picture. Right? So if you can't hold it, go back to the person or being that you have the unconditional love for. So I'm bringing my kitties back into my mind, their little faces, their little meows, their smell. I just love them so much. I love them so much. Fill yourself back up with that unconditional love. You know the frequency of unconditional love. This is it right here. There's nothing my kitties could do that would make me not love them. Nothing they could do. And now, picture of you. If you need to open your eyes to connect to that picture of you, that's okay. If you have it in your mind's eye, hold it. See if you can sit in unconditional love for yourself. This is it. This is it. And I don't know about you, but it makes me tear up. It's the combination of all of it. It all works together. There's nothing wrong with me. There's never anything wrong with me. I love myself unconditionally, and really allowing yourself to sit in that energy. That's the whole ball game right there. That's what this is all about. And the more you start to practice that, the more you start to feel that for yourself, it's going to start to dissolve all of this shame stuff. It's going to start to you're going to feel like, I don't resonate with that anymore. Doesn't mean that little things won't pop up here and there. Doesn't mean that life isn't going to show you, I didn't know that was there. Time to do a little bit of work. Doesn't mean some insecurity. You're not going to have a bad hair day, or you're not going to wake up in the morning. I'm bloated. I'm this, I'm that. Doesn't mean, right? We're going to feel 100% about ourselves every single day. But you're going to stay in the frequency of self-love. You're going to stay in that frequency of unconditional love for yourself. And now you can recall this at any time. You know what this feels like. So if you're somebody that needs to practice unconditional self-love, this is a great exercise for you to do as often as you need it. Okay? Unconditional self-love. And I love you. I am feeling so much love right now that I can't contain it. So I just want to say, I love you. Thank you for watching this video. There's nothing wrong with you. And I am so excited that I get to share all of this information with you. And let's continue the journey. Until next time, take care.